What's up, y'all? Ray here, and I'm excited to show y'all this really easy and relatively quick, minus cure time of course, technique of making a template from a mold that you already have. These are a couple of cross molds. This is a 12 by 6, I think, cross mold. And then this one, I completely forgot the size on it. But these are some molds that I got from Crafted Elements, and I love them. However, I'm realizing that it might not be the easiest thing to put a piece of wood in here. I mean, yeah, I could go and take my wood and put it up against here and kind of more or less trace, and eyeball it, but that's just going to be a lot of fuss and fight. But if it were something that were more symmetrical, well, I guess those are symmetrical, but more like rectangular or square or something like this, I could do something like this where I know that this is the inside area of my mold, and so that way I can just put it up here and I can know, okay, I like that, or I don't like that, or I want to do that, or do something a little more on the corner or something. I can do something like that if it weren't something like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some epoxy resin store deep pour. We're not going to be pouring a whole lot, maybe a quarter to a half inch, so you could realistically use a 1-to-1 and it would cure a lot faster. But since this is only going to be that shallow, and this can be poured up to 2 inches, which I poured 2 inches and it cured in 3 days. So with it being so shallow, if you will, it's going to cure a lot faster than that. But I'm still going to give it 3 days so that way I know it's flat and solid and has plenty of chance to fully cure. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to coat these in my silicone mold release spray. Not silicone based mold release spray. That's for like machining and like metal molds or different types of material. You want a silicone mold, these molds right here, release spray. I'm not sure what the base is on these, but it is not silicone based. It's not going to cause it to adhere to it or cause any issues, because the reason you want to use a mold release spray is because your epoxy is heating up and then it's cooling off, and that can actually grab on the sides of your mold and it can pull chunks out of it, and then that just wears on your silicone mold significantly faster. These silicone molds, you should get about anywhere from, I think they were saying 20 to 30, possibly even 40 uses out of them, with which the price you pay for these, you definitely want to get as much as you can out of it. With that number, 20 to 30, possibly even 40, pours, if you're selling these products, then you're definitely going to make your money's worth in the mold itself. So do the proper methods to take care of your stuff. I mean, even with other tools, you want to do that as well. But so I've covered these already in silicone mold release spray. And then now I'm going to take some epoxy resin store deep pour. I'm going to keep saying their name apparently. Take some deep pour epoxy, fill it up, mix it up. I'm not going to use a paddle because I don't want to introduce a lot of bubbles, because then that's just more work that I have to do, and then I have to baby this, and I really want clear and that crystal clear clarity of the template, so that way whenever I do put it up against a piece of wood, I can see exactly the figure, the space, the area that I'm going to be able to then trace and then put my piece into the mold perfectly. So let's get this mixed up. I'm not going to do any measuring or anything like that, because I mean, if I pour them a little more, if I pour them, as long as I am at that 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch space, if it's a little bit more, so be it. So this is a 3-to-1, so I'm going to do 3 parts of part A here. So I'm going to do up to the 3rd line. They have some pre-made lines here. I guess it would help if I actually opened this. So we did our first one to the 3rd line, or our part A to the line number 3 on here. And then we do our second part to the line number 3. I know you can't see it, but just trust me when I say it. And now I'm going to speed it up so that way you don't have to sit here and watch me mix all of this epoxy. All right, so everything is poured, or everything is mixed. Now I'm ready to pour. So I'm going to get these at a good place so that way I can leave them and have them just kind of sit here while they cure. As I said before, they're not going to take very long to cure. So I'm going to first pour the small one, and then I'll pour the big one, because I want to make sure I have enough to fill the small one. So I'm gonna check the depth on here. I just have to find my depth gauge. I thought I had it, so let me find it. Okay, so now I'm gonna check the depth on these to see exactly where I'm at. I just take one of these little pocket rulers, and I think it's a really good depth gauge, and then I can just wipe it off, and you know, everything will be good. So this one's at a 1/2 inch. Let's see, make sure I'm level. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm on a level surface, so. Because if not, you have a wonky, you know, template. This one is at a little under half. So I still have a little bit of epoxy. I do have some smaller molds that I made my son that I can always use to fill. But yeah, I don't know. But either way, I have a little bit of epoxy left over. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with it. But these are done. And now I just let them cure. Something that people like to do is they like to take like a scrap piece of wood or something and put it in here. And so that way they kind of have a handle. I mean, not like that big, but maybe they'll do like something like this. So that way they have a handle to move it around. I don't want to do like that because I want these to be flat whenever I store them and not anything protruding from the top of it. So that way, whenever I have all of my templates together, even like these, I mean, you can see these are 1/4 inch and this is 1/2 inch. So they're gonna be a little thicker, but I can get all of my molds and stack them all together and put them in one of my, or not molds, all of my templates, stack them together and then put them in one of my larger molds. And that way they're out of the way and they're stored and I know exactly where they're all at. So now I'm gonna give this a couple days to cure and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna demold these. I'm gonna show you exactly how easy it is to demold these. So yeah. All right, y'all, so it's been a few days. And by a few days, I mean actually a couple weeks, because by the time I got to these, yeah, it's just things got away from me. So these actually took 3 days to cure. Typically, whenever you do a shallow pour with deep pour, it doesn't take as long. It may take a couple days and then you can demold it. It might have a little bit of wiggle in it and not be completely cured, but it's still work. You can still work with it and stuff like that. So I actually left these for a couple weeks because things got crazy around my household. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to demold these and I'm gonna show you exactly what I can do with these templates on a piece like this to be able to use some of that live edge on my actual mold itself. So funny story is a couple things happened whenever I needed to store these. I ended up having to move them to my workbench, and so they're a little uneven, so that can be planed down and make them flat. Since I did over pour them, there is part of it where it is more shallow, so that is I don't know how thin that part is, but I can plane this and then polish it and then it'll be perfectly fine. And whenever something else happened and this one actually broke right here at the top of the cross, so that can be fixed as well with epoxy, just some 1-to-1. Spray this with mold release spray, put it back in the mold, and then just let that cure for probably 24 hours, and then that will just, you know, hold itself. So let's go ahead and demold this and let's check out and see exactly what we've got. So the thing I love about these crafted element molds is as long as you use your demold spray, they just simply come right out and then you can pull them out super easily unless it keeps catching. So now I have, of course I have a little bit of over pour with epoxy. Things tend to grasp onto the sides of them, and you can see that you have a nice clean template now. So I can use this for figuring out exactly the piece that I want to and then put it in my mold. So what I was saying before was the epoxy is going to grab onto the edges, so they might leave a little bit of sharp edges on here, so you can just simply take a piece of sandpaper, I have some around here somewhere, You can take a piece of sandpaper and just kind of clean those edges up. You do not want to route over these edges because you want your lines to be nice and clean and crisp. And so that way, whenever you do trace your piece, it's going to leave it exactly the shape that you're wanting to. So let's go ahead and get this other one out of the mold just so you can see exactly what happened. So here is the top part. You can see that is super crystal clear. That's about how thick you want them. Of course, some of this material will come off whenever I do flatten it. And then this part over here is the part that I was talking about, where it's a little uneven, which it kind of comes up a little, which isn't anything too bad, which is not a big deal. Let's see with this one, you can see a little bit over here, but it's mostly just like bigger and then goes to thinner. So either way, this is great. I'm not mad about it. Like I said, with this, I'll do some one-to-one, put that together, and then that little line, it's gonna be so minute, it's not even gonna cause any issues. So now I can take my piece and say I want to get some of this edge in here. Let's see, let's do part of this edge. Part of the edge on here. So now we can trace that, trace that, trace that. Come over here. And then with these live edges, it's just going to be kind of a rough guesstimation, but if you have a longer pencil, you can get it more tight up against the edge there. And of course, you know, I am by no means an artist, so this is not going to be absolutely perfect, but you can always get it later, get a straight edge and just kind of get it more situated. So you can see that now whenever I take this piece of the bandsaw, I can cut exactly this part out, and then I know that whenever I put that part, this piece of wood, into my mold, it will fill this space right here, and it will line up with everything, and it'll be nice and clean. Like I said, doing it up against live edges aren't the easiest thing out there, but I guess really if you wanted to, you could do the other end of the live edge. Here we go. Let's try this part. Let's try this way. This will be a lot cleaner. Well, because of all this spalting on here, you're not going to really be able to see it. So you can see that now I can cut this out on the bandsaw and then flip it on the other side, and then it will put a mirror image onto here, and it will fill it perfectly. And so that's another reason why I really like this a lot, because now I can really figure out, I know I had some other figured wood, but we're not even gonna go into it. So I can see exactly the place that I want. Maybe I want to do exactly like this, or maybe I like that knot in there, and I can really see like, okay, well I want that knot dead center in the cross right there, or I just want to cut that knot out completely, but I kind of like the way the grain pattern goes here. Or you see kind of like this, I can avoid this little part and that little part and know exactly what I want or what I'm going to put in there. Or maybe I want to do something like this, and now it's going to be mostly spalted and like half live edge, half not. So it's going to be a nice mix of epoxy, more river table-esque. So like I said, this is a super easy, quick. By quick, I mean it all depends on how long your epoxy pours or cures. And then I know that whatever piece I cut, as long as I cut it well, it's gonna fit right in there, and then I can pour up my mold, and then it's going to work out exactly the way I need it to. So realistically, it's great to buy a template with a silicone mold. However, if you don't have the margin for that, definitely recommend this budget. I mean, this way, it's budget friendly, and I mean, it's one of those things that if I need it, and say like I do have one of these templates and then I end up breaking it or whatever, like this is one that the lasers weren't cut out or the markings weren't cut out well, which I told them just to let them know, Crafted Elements, and they ended up sending me another one. But say this ends up breaking, and then I'm like, well crud, now I'm out that template that I had. But if I buy the silicone mold, if I break this like that, I can either fix it or I can just toss it, make another one, and then make as many as I want. So that's another thing I love about Crafted Elements is the vast range of silicone mold shapes and template and everything that they have. Absolutely love all their products. Super simple, super easy to use. I mean, they're ridiculous. So go check them out. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, do all the things, and yeah, so I've got more videos to come, so stay tuned, and I will see y'all in the next one.